Steve epitomizes Dr. John L. Christopher's personal characteristics: his remarkable achievements, intellect, amazing sense of humor, knowledge, and dedication to the field of professional, continuing and distance education, strong sense of professionalism, willingness to serve, and personal strengths. As an outstanding leader in our field, he fully deserves to receive this recognition, the highest accolade given in our region and organization. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you to Bob Stein for nominating me, and all the folks who wrote letters of support. I know that Terry, I think you were involved in those shenanigans, and Penny Teague, who's been a long time member of the Central Region and a leader in the Central Region, and then John Stone, who couldn't be here because of health issues. We're thinking of him today. This is really nice. I mean, let's face it, everyone likes to get awards, right? Everyone likes a little bit of recognition for the work that they do, and we all try to act like we don't like it, but we do, right? So I think this is absolutely fantastic, right? But for me, it's particularly humbling, and first of all, for me, it's humbling because of, and for me to be considered a leader in the region because of what I actually do. So Terry listed off all kinds of things that I'm responsible for, but I don't do a lot in any one of those areas, right? And so I remember when I started to become a leader, it was really odd to me how I kind of did less. I was involved in less projects and actually doing things. So to be recognized for not doing anything that's kind of nice, I guess, right? So whether it's on my campus or on ABSEA teams, there are so many talented people that are actually making things work. And you know, the old adage or the old analogy is, you know, from good to great is getting all the people on the bus in the right seats. And I've never driven a bus, and I don't know too much about buses except for maybe some experiences in grade school. But so I'd like to use a different analogy. I'd like to leave you with two images today that hopefully you'll remember for at least until the end of the conference. Right? I took my sons to Colorado this year. We were going to take a cross-country trip, my wife and I, and my twin 15-year-old sons who love baseball. We're going to take a trip from the UP of Michigan, and nothing's close to the UP of Michigan, so we were going to kind of head down this way and go to a game here in St. Louis and maybe Kansas City and some more major minor league parks on our way out to Colorado to see a Rockies game. And we ended up flying. One of my sons had to have some back surgery, so we had to get out there and get back quickly. So we didn't do that, but I was always thinking of that movie Vacation, right? And we ended up actually watching the movie when we were in Colorado. They had never seen it before, which I found appalling. So I threatened that either they watch it or they weren't allowed to come back home. So we packed the car, and we had all of our spots and our stuff to head to the airport. But I was reflecting on how when I was a kid, and we would take trips, and so the analogy instead of the bus for me is the family truckster, right? The station wagon with the wood paneling on the side of it, and we would all, when I was a kid, we'd all get in and we all would kind of jockey for the positions, but everyone knew who was supposed to sit where, right? I'm the youngest of three boys, and so I had my spot, and there was no way I was getting a different spot, and the dog had its place, and everyone had their place, and some of us were facing sideways, and those old station wagons, some of you face backwards in those things, and we all sort of had our role, and I considered it my role to make sure that Dad knew whenever we passed a Dairy Queen or an A&W or something like that. But everyone had their stuff and everyone had their positions, and someone was in charge of books and other entertainment. Yeah, we read books back then, and snacks, right? There was always the snack place, and people were in charge of digging into the bag and doling out snacks at particular points. So everyone had their jobs. So for me, the family station wagon is a better analogy. So I'm the Clark W. Griswold of continuing and online education, I guess, right? So my job, I see my job as just sort of driving the vehicle, right, and keeping Wally World in mind, keeping the destination in mind, and sometimes getting sidetracked and wanting to go and see the world's third largest ball of twine, but just to make sure that the vision is kept in mind and that we're motivating people to do what they do. But as far as actually doing the work, I do very little of that. So I find, again, being recognized for that quite interesting. The one image I want you to think of, and this is from East St. Louis too, which officially is in Illinois, right? Yes. Right, so very famous scene from this movie. So that's one image I want you to think about is the old family truckster. Second one, I'd like you to think of a cowboy, and maybe this cowboy, since we're on the theme of National Lampoon's Vacation, another really funny scene. But maybe even more importantly, this image. Does anyone recognize this image? Yeah, University of Wyoming. And the reason is that this is the mascot Pistol Pete from the University of Wyoming. When I was nominated for the award, I thought it was sort of like a traveling award that, they couldn't find anyone else to take it, right? Since Terry does such wonderful work, she's already gotten it. Bob does great work, he's already got it. Penny does wonderful. So I thought it was just sort of my prize, or my term for this kind of traveling award. And so I thought, well, I should probably learn a little bit more about what this is, especially because a colleague asked me, well, what kind of award is it? And I said, well, that's a really good question. I know it's named after John Christopher. I don't know a lot about him. And I think what this colleague was really asking is, why the heck are they giving you an award? So I decided to explore what the award was all about and who John Christopher was. And Terry just told you a lot more information than I could find, right? I couldn't find a lot. I knew he was from the University of Wyoming. I knew he was the first dean of extended learning there. And I couldn't find out a lot more about him. They gave away a student scholarship in his name years ago, so I found that. I asked Amy, I asked Harry. Everyone had a little bit of pieces of information. I thought, I thought it was a little tragic. It was a little, I felt kind of bad that we've all kind of forgotten who he was. And then come to find out, can I share this? Come to find out, you might notice that the University of Wyoming is not in the central region. So at the time that the award was given, the Wyoming and the central region were one, right? And then there was they had split off. So the award doesn't even belong officially in the central region anymore. So I thought how interesting and a bit odd and a bit tragic this was, that this guy, had kind of been forgotten, right? And then the more I thought of it, the more it seemed really appropriate that, I think I know who he is. I think I know who John Christopher is without having anyone having told me. He was probably just a really hardworking guy who cared about adult non-traditional students and worked on their behalf tirelessly, right? I'm sure he had a sense of humor. I'm sure he was a hard worker, and I'm sure he was a really caring person. And probably wasn't out in front of people for accolades a lot, evidenced by the fact that we kind of lost track of him. So you might remember, this little talk and these two images for a little while, but we'll all forget, who won this award at this time in St. Louis eventually, and we'll all kind of be forgotten, but our work won't. So John is us, right? John is us. And so when I started to think about that, I was wrong. I mean, this award is not a traveling award. I'm just so humbled to have gotten it and to be in your ranks. I mean, you do such important work. You're on the cutting edge of higher education. You're breaking new ground. You're leading the way. You're getting very little recognition for it historically, right? We're sort of the add-ons at many universities, or we have been. We get things piled up in the station wagon. Sometimes we have to drag others along. Was that poor little Sparky that got dragged along? And sometimes carrying dead weight, like on the roof, right? And Ed on the roof. But always moving towards the goal, right? And so I'm unbelievably honored now to receive this award, and I thank you so much. We'll see you at Wally World.